All right, let me tell you what just went down on First Take, because if you missed it, this was one of those rare moments where you could feel the energy in the studio shift. They were fired up, but not in a negative way this time. It was about Trey Tucker, and the conversation honestly felt like the first real spark of optimism for Raider Nation in weeks. The panel dug right into Tucker's performance against Washington, and they didn't sugarcoat it. They said flat out that what we saw wasn't just a nice stat line, it was a potential turning point. 8 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. You can call some of it garbage time if you want, but the truth is, that kind of output means something. And as they reminded everybody, no Raiders receiver has done that since Michael Crabtree back in 2017. Think about that. Almost a decade without that type of performance. And here comes Trey Tucker, a third-round pick who was supposed to be nothing more than a gadget guy, doing it on a national stage. And hey, let me pause real quick. If you're enjoying this breakdown and want more conversations like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's honestly my dream to hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and every single one of you who joins gets us closer to making that happen. So if you like the content and want to keep growing with us, go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And this is where it got interesting. The panel on First Take started connecting the dots, talking about how this might be the exact breakout moment that the Raiders' offense desperately needs. They pointed out that Tucker has all of Geno Smith's passing touchdowns so far this season. All of them. 1 in Week 1, 3 against Washington, and none in Week 2 because, well, the whole offense went flat. But if you look at that chemistry, it's there. They said Tucker's speed, his ability to move pre-snap, stretch defenses vertically, and get separation underneath, gives Geno something he hasn't had consistently, a reliable second option. Now, don't get it twisted. They didn't ignore the issue. First Take still hammered the offensive line, the protection breakdowns, the lack of continuity with Brennan Carroll's unit. They said, and I'm quoting here, "This team can't even properly evaluate its weapons because the foundation up front is crumbling." And you know what? They're right. You can have Tucker flashing. You can have Geno trying to get the ball out. But if he's under constant pressure, how far can this go? That was the reality check part of the segment. But I loved how they didn't stop at just the negative. They tried to balance it out. They reminded the audience that in the NFL, sometimes all it takes is one breakout game to reset a player's trajectory, and maybe even a team's season. They even compared it to what we saw with Jakobi Meyers stepping up after the Davante trade. Nobody thought Meyers was going to be the guy, but he seized the opportunity. Tucker could be walking into that same exact lane. And of course, they didn't avoid the elephant in the room, the trade deadline. They said straight up that if the Raiders stumble against Chicago and go to 1-3, Jakobi Meyers is going to be the first name on the trade block. He wanted a contract. He didn't get it. And if this season slides toward a rebuild, the Raiders will shop him. And that's where Tucker comes back into the conversation. Because if Meyers is gone, suddenly, Tucker isn't just a breakout player. He becomes the guy alongside Brock Bowers. That's a massive shift in responsibility, but also a massive opportunity. And I've got to tell you, hearing them say that on First Take made me stop and think. Sometimes as fans, we get so wrapped up in the negatives, the bad coaching decisions, the sack, the sloppy execution, that we overlook the little moment that could actually be the start of something bigger. And for all the doom and gloom we've talked about this week, Tucker gave us one of those moments. Now look, none of this erases the problems. The panel kept it real. Geno Smith is still on pace to be sacked nearly 70 times. The offensive line is still out of sync. The defense still looks lost against the run. But even with all of that, Tucker showed that if you just give Geno a second to breathe, there's a weapon out there who can change games, and that matters. So when we head into this Bears game, that's the storyline I'm holding on to. Not just whether the Raiders can bounce back, but whether Trey Tucker can keep that momentum rolling. Because if he can, then suddenly the offense doesn't feel so hopeless. Suddenly, there's a reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, this team isn't as far gone as it looks on paper. That's what they said on First Take. And honestly, it's what I needed to hear as a Raiders fan. Some truth, some accountability, but also some hope. and I'll take that.